Hey there, my friends, it's me again. Today I want to talk with you about population growth and the influx of foreigners into this country and what it's doing to us. It's a matter that affects you, your livelihood, your future, your children's future in enormously profound ways. So please, pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, and I promise you that by the end of this video, you want to see change too. I'm going to present to you, as before, facts and figures as well as their sources so that you can verify what I say. I do this because I want to use the force of logic, not the shrill and empty rhetoric, to persuade you, to convince you, to reason with you. So let's get started. 2018, last year, marked a very important year. As the proportion of Singaporeans less than 15 years old fall and that of older Singaporeans increase, 2018 marked the point where the two were equal. As you can see, if we extrapolate the trend, the elderly percentage of the population will, by 2030, balloon to twice that of young Singaporeans. Why is this important? Such a fast-growing population would, in Mr. Lee Hsien Loong's words, bring about profound problems. His words, not mine. Now I want you to remember this because I'll be coming back to it. How did we end up in such a dangerous position? Two factors. The first is the low birth rate. It has been declining through the years. The average number of births per woman in Singapore is 1.16, which remains one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in the world. And the second factor is the high emigration rate. Between 2001 and 2011, around 1,000 Singaporeans renounced their citizenship every year. By 2004, nearly 160,000 had left Singapore, and the rate is picking up. By 2016, this number jumped to more than 210,000. Now this is a huge number considering our small population. And mind you, these are our young, our talented, in other words, our best and brightest who are leaving. Let me cite you a few more statistics that will really wake you up. A survey done by the Singapore Polytechnic found that 6 in 10 Singaporeans, that's right, 60%, between ages 15 and 35, are looking beyond Singapore to achieve their dreams. A separate study done by the Institute of Policy Studies also found that nearly 60% of young Singaporeans believe that emigration is inevitable. In 2012, Mindshare, a global survey company, found that a similar percentage of Singaporeans said that, given a choice, I would like to emigrate. Now I can cite you study after survey showing an alarming number of young Singaporeans indicating that they like to leave this country, but I think you get the picture. The double whammy of a low birth rate and a high emigration rate is what's causing our population to shrink. This question that's screaming to be asked is, what's causing this phenomenon? As it turns out, the answer isn't complicated. Studies repeatedly show that it's the cost of living and the stressful lifestyle in Singapore that's causing younger Singaporeans not to have children. A survey showed that 50% of younger Singaporean couples of childbearing age, cite finance as the main reason that's deterring them from wanting to have children. The report straight up said that with the costs of childcare and infant care at a premium, more couples are thinking twice about having children. Another study showed that the main cause of the low birth rate in Singapore is due to costs required in rearing a child. And what about the high immigration rate? What is causing younger Singaporeans to want to leave this country in such high numbers? The top reasons cited are the high cost of living, stressful lifestyle, lack of opportunity, and lack of an open and democratic system. Now let's look at each of these reasons in turn and see what the PAP is doing about them. First, cost of living. Incredibly, the government is making living expenses in this city that's already the most expensive in the world even higher by raising prices on a rash of items. In the future, it's going to raise the GST from 7 to 9%. 2. Singaporeans are already leaving this country in droves because of the stressful lifestyle in an overcrowded city. The PAP's response opened the doors to even more foreigners, and then encourage everyone to steal everyone else's lunch. In 1993, Goh Chok Tong said that a 4 million population was a comfortable figure. In 2007, Ma Bao Tan proposed 6.5 million. In 2013, Lee Hsien Loong upped it to 6.9 million. In 2019, Heng Swee Keat said he's okay with 10 million. They're making the numbers up as they go along. And you know what the worst part is? None of them have to deal with the daily struggle of taking public transport or live in crowded HDB estates. When you keep bringing in foreigners to boost our population figure, what is that doing to our Singaporean identity? I've had many Singaporean men serving the national service asking me what is it that they are defending? What exactly are they dying for? 3. Lack of opportunity. Foreign workers are not only making this island even more crowded, but they're also unfairly competing for our jobs. In 2017, some 250 local companies were placed on government watch lists for not doing enough to hire Singaporeans. This number jumped to 500 in 2018. The number increased to 610 this year before coming down to 350. Now, these firms deal primarily with occupations ranging from architects to engineers, IT business professionals, and other managers. In other words, PMETs. Now, I don't have to tell you that there are many PMETs, including senior executives and high-profile professionals who have had to resort to driving taxis and grab cars in order to make a living. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with driving taxis, but this situation demonstrates how toxic the PAP's immigration policy has become. Look at this. 75.8% of all retrenchments last year were local PMETs. This is the highest level since such data was first published by the Ministry of Manpower in 2006. Now, folks, I want to be absolutely clear. We are not a xenophobic people. Mr. Heng Swee Keat recently said that Singaporeans need to be open and understanding of foreigners, whether immigrants or workers and students from other countries. Now, that's a strawman argument. A strawman argument is where one refutes an argument that your opponent is not making. In this instance, we're not against foreigners coming into Singapore. We welcome foreign workers, and when they're here, we treat them with respect and graciousness. What we are against is the overly lax immigration policy that the PAP is imposing on us for its own political agenda, a policy that's hurting us Singaporeans. If you don't believe me, take a look at some of these headlines. PMETs making up rising share of retrenched locals. Singaporean workers unhappiest in Southeast Asia. PMET retrenchments hit all-time high. Singaporean workers most stressed globally. Millennials pessimistic about their future, and on and on. Now, that's how bad the situation has become. And it bothers me, as I'm sure it bothers you, how the PAP is treating the people. 4. Lack of democracy. Now, researchers point out that anti-PAP and pro-democratic ideas strongly influence the decision of native Singaporeans to leave the island state. Local academic Dr. Yap Mui Teng noted that helplessness and fear in the face of an overpowering political and power structure drives Singaporeans to leave. So what does the PAP do? It makes the political system even more oppressive, reserving the presidency for its own candidate and changing her rates, refusing to call for a by-election even when the seat is vacated, closing down websites, suing and prosecuting netizens and activists, raiding activists' homes, and attacking already nervous academics who so much as criticized its policies. Now, can you see the profound problems that Mr. Lee warned us about are entirely of his own creation? And his actions are making them worse. I mean, I remind you, my friends, we are the ones who end up paying the price. And in case the PAP and its supporters recite their usual trope about the opposition knowing only how to criticize but not coming up with solutions, and let me remind them of our recently launched population and immigration policy, where we spelled out in detail how we can grow our population in a sustainable manner and manage the inflow of foreign talent without jeopardizing local jobs. Now, in the interest of time, I won't repeat them here, but I encourage you to go to our website at yoursdp.org and read our policy. My friends, we cannot go on like this. Our country cannot sustain another 5 years in this direction. We must change. I don't have to tell you the gravity and the urgency of the situation. But if we are going to bring about change, positive change, change for the better, then two things must happen. First, the SDP must run a compelling campaign in these elections. On this, we pledge to give our all. Two, you must do your part to support the SDP, to support this campaign. Please donate and volunteer. Now, I've always taken pride in persuading our people, not pandering to your fears. And it's taken me not years but decades to do this, but it's been worthwhile, because anything that's worth changing is never easy. And yet change we must. So my fellow Singaporeans, please answer the call of our nation, the call of a free and democratic Singapore. Donate and volunteer. You are our country's hope. I thank you in anticipation, and until then, take care.